Yo, 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 yo.
You know, I don't smoke weed, bro, but goddamn is this shit beautiful. I
Yes,
mean,
sir. Yeah. And now tune into another episode of V. Hey.
I like to get high.
Woo.
I gotta say, man, being sober for the amount of years that I have and listening to that, I mean, it's still such a beautiful
You missed that
track.
feeling, bro. Keep it a buck.
It's a beautiful song. I can't lie about it.
All right, I need a lighter. Dog.
Let me just say, and be the first to say,
speak your mind.
that after the number one comes the number two, right?
Yeah.
There's this great book by Dr. Seuss,
Okay.
the poet and philosopher Dr. Seuss,
Mm-hmm.
and medical doctor as well.
By the way, we got Yosh in the building.
We do have Yosh in the
Yakuza,
building. Yeah,
man.
Yosh, what do you want to tell the people, bro? Let them know exactly what's on your mind. Because I was going to talk about one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, but you go right ahead. Let them know. Cause
Oh yeah, I remember Yosh was speaking to me earlier, but he doesn't like bitches that overanalyze things.
Okay.
No, of course not.
Okay, I see.
He had a shorty that he was
Is this the same one you were talking to me about? Is this?
Yeah, that was the same one that
I
was
understand what you mean. I won't get specific here, but
he made a joke
I understand.
regarding, because she was, I believe, along the lines of something about a family. She was doing something with her family.
Okay.
And he wanted to hang out with her. And he was like, yo, fuck your family. And she didn't take that pretty well.
Yeah, wait. You said fuck your family.
But in a sarcastic
In a
tone.
funny way.
sarcastic
Was that
tone.
over the what is it called,
Text?
the phone or what?
Text.
Yeah, over the phone. I told her.
Oh, you did this over the...
I did it on sarcastic. I'm like, ha ha. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't mean it to, like,
He was laughing.
sound like, oh, pesado or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it was a
it was an honest mistake.
It was
That
a friendly fuck your family, if
it's
you
like
will. It was
friendly fuck your family type shit.
I understand what you mean.
Without the middle fingers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I listen. I do shit
Completely
like that
understandable.
all the time. You know, where I would just go on a first date, for example, say something like, you know, if you died, I wouldn't care. You know.
Yeah, bro.
But in a sarcastic tone.
Why
right?
these hoes gotta overanalyze everything, bro?
And I just feel like there's too much sensibilities around this world. You know, like people care too much. It's like let loose, right?
Facts, bro.
There's
Dude, I gotta talk about, I went through kidney stones this week, bro.
How was that?
Bro, let me just tell you right now.
Was that the most painful shit?
No, it wasn't, because apparently, dude, I woke up, immediately just had pain on the side of my, like, stomach / back of my, like,
Yeah.
chest type shit.
You been
Bro.
drinking water, bro? Or?
Bro, I don't know what the fuck or why I got it, bro. To the point where I couldn't even stay still, bro. Like, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like that the whole time, bro. I had to call my dad and my
How
brother.
long did it last?
I'm gonna tell you right now, as soon as I woke up, I was feeling that. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? Like, I was just so bamboozled by this pain. I call my brother to pick me up. I'm like, yo, pick me up. I feel like shit. Like, I need to go to the hospital, da-da-da. Dog, eventually, I get to the hospital. They end up telling me that apparently the kidney stone, either I pissed it out already by the time that I woke up and peed, or that the kidney stone was that small and translucent because they couldn't see it or whatever. Bro, I was there for, like, in the hospital, like, 20 minutes, just like, oh my God, give me some pain, give me, like, a pain relief or something, anything. Bro, I was about to cry, dude. Like, I was in fucking, like, I couldn't do anything, bro. I was just in pain.
Right.
And they eventually fucking drugged me up, gave me an IV, and, bro, started feeling better immediately,
What'd
bro.
they give you?
I don't know. It's a drug that starts with the T.
Tramadol?
Some shit. They call it the magic drug.
I mean, that's just an opioid.
Bro, feeling amazing, bro. After that, I didn't have the pain anymore, dog. Thank the Lord, bro. Yo, but regardless, I don't even know why I had the kidney stone, bro. I drink mad water. I'm not really a soda drinker.
Okay.
I don't know. They just said there was a bunch of fucking...
Are you physically active? You know?
Yeah. I've been going to the gym. Started the gym.
Okay, good.
That's another update from
Good.
the Velasco life.
That'll help.
I've been going to the gym with one of my boys,
Okay.
LA Fitness. I'm kind of sore right now on the bottom of my
Yeah.
thighs, my legs. I did leg day the other day. It's been great, dog.
Good.
But other than that, the kidney stone, I wish nobody that pain, bro.
I understand.
That
I
is
mean,
a serious pain,
I've
bro.
heard people talk about how terrible it feels, you know?
Bro, and if I actually had them in my fucking in my kidney and I had to pee them out, bro, I would have been in so much more pain. Thank God the shit I had was like not like too extreme.
Yeah.
So it was bearable. And even then I almost didn't think it was, but thank God, bro.
At least they drugged you up, you know?
I mean, I was forcing them to drug me. I'm like, yo, drug me right now. I cannot bear with this pain, bro. I was like literally just laying down, like just moving the whole time because I just couldn't. Dude,
What'd you do? You went to the ER?
Went to the ER, bro.
Yeah.
There was nothing else I could do, dog. Like I couldn't thug it out, take a Motrin or an Advil. No,
Yeah.
bro. That shit was.
You couldn't just slap yourself and say, stop being a bitch.
I
You
couldn't, bro. Nah, bro.
Right.
That was some. Yo, trust me. Anybody who's listening and have been through kidney stones, I'm sure they agree. 'cause
Right.
That is some next level pain.
I've
dude.
heard about it, man. I've heard about how people feel on kidney stones, you know? So, you know, I've been thinking, because I've been going on Twitter recently, you know, and I noticed that this fucking guy was just... I saw that this guy fucking Destiny...
Oh, God.
Apparently there's this thing going on. Destiny the streamer, right? The guy that he makes all these political streams and he plays video games and shit.
Mr. Bonelli, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that guy, right? And so apparently they're claiming on the internet that there's a video of him sucking up.
No, it's him. He made a video claiming that one of his friends' account probably got hacked 3 years ago.
Oh, he says that it is him.
I mean, I didn't watch the full video, but it said literally that. So I'm like,
Okay.
I'm assuming that he owned up to it, but he didn't apologize.
So he's admit. Why the fuck would he apologize?
Tristan Tate said if anything like that were to happen, he'd apologize to all the people that. Which leads me to one of my questions. How would you act if a video of yours got leaked?
A video of me doing what?
Hypothetically. I mean, not the same thing as Destiny. Just you interaction fucking a female.
How would I react?
What would you do?
Well, I mean, I might apologize to the female,
That's the number one, bro.
but I wouldn't apologize to anyone else. Who the fuck else do I owe an apology to?
True.
Who did I harm?
Well, just the idea that like you have, let's say you're in Destiny's position and you
Right.
you have like a lot of fans, a lot of
Yeah,
people,
he's a streamer.
and that didn't. Just like, hey man, sorry for that coming
And
out.
somebody hacked his shit and took a video out. I mean, that's not his
I agree
fault.
that you shouldn't, but you should still be like, yo, my bad for all that, or
For what?
no, okay.
He didn't do anything wrong. I don't see the... You apologize when you do something wrong, not when you don't do something wrong.
You think that's the only time it's rightful to apologize?
I mean, the only other reason to do it is for like the sort of aesthetic reasons that we apologize to people, you know.
That's kind of more
when something happens, you know, that you did accidentally or something like that, right? Like a very slight thing, or to just be nice to people sometimes.
Maybe he had like younger people that seen it, this and that.
I mean, I don't think that there. First of all, if there's younger people seeing it, then their parents should apologize to them because they're the ones responsible for it.
I agree.
He has no obligation to like, you know, put a rating on his shit and be like, oh, this is only for fucking people over this age.
Yeah, that's crazy. Bro.
Parents are the ones responsible for that shit. It's not like he's advertising to kids and shit.
How would you feel though if a video of yours got leaked?
I don't know. It depends on what the video is about.
It's just you slamming a chick. Just slamming that shit. Back shots.
I might feel bad that I just fucking that there's a video of her now of me pounding
I'm
her.
asking you because you're fucking like. I feel like it's hard to understand your feelings sometimes, Abe. So I gotta.
I express myself a lot, you know.
Sure, but would you feel ashamed? Would you feel?
I don't think I feel ashamed.
You wouldn't feel ashamed?
No, people fuck. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know, if it was like a video of me taking a shit, for example, I'd still be like, well, everybody takes a shit. What are you gonna do?
That would be funny.
You know?
If that was the video.
Yeah. Now, whether or not I'd feel like some sense of humiliation or
Anything like that?
or like just not feel like showing my face and shit, you know, because maybe it was one of those gnarly, horrific, life-changing shits where you end up taking all your clothes off because you're fucking sweating and the diarrhea is just pouring out of you and all you hear is
Right. It's probably like the worst.
Right.
Like one of the worst shits you've had.
Right. Right. The ones where, I mean, you just...
and you're fucking making, like, reactions and
it
shit.
looks like an exorcism, right?
Yeah.
If it's that, then, you know, I would remind people that, you know, it's... Suffering is real, and I know what it feels like, and there's proof on video now that I know what suffering is.
Yeah.
Because taking a gnarly shit like that is suffering. So I would just point that out. But I don't think I would apologize for taking a shit, because that'd be way too many apologies in my life.
Yeah, right.
I've taken a lot of shits.
You think people apologize for anything nowadays?
They should apologize to me for watching me take a shit. That's... How dare they? Violate my
fucked up.
privacy like that, bro?
Word, yeah.
What are you doing watching that, bro? That's private.
That is wild, though. Yeah, that's why I don't know.
How do you feel about those dudes that watch, like, females taking a shit, bro? That's some wild shit, bro.
There's people that do that?
There's people that are into that, bro.
Yeah.
There's dudes that are into, like, watching bitches take a shit.
I was thinking of, like, some like, funny-ass bit that it would be, like, this dude who, like, just in his mind, he can't comprehend that, like he's trying to beat every nut that he busted. Like, he's trying to, like, top it every single time.
Okay.
So where he thinks that, like, beating off in front of, like, people actually having sex is, like, the ultimate, like, fucking...
So he's a cuck.
Yeah, but the bit was gonna be that this dude doesn't comprehend that he's cucking. He just thinks of it as, like...
He thinks it's like sex.
Ultra porn.
Yeah,
like
it's the best. It's
like
super porn.
Yeah, like, it's like...
Like, here, fuck my wife.
Or it doesn't even have to be his wife. It could just be random people.
Just random couples. Like, he'll pay a couple to watch
just
them
to
fuck.
watch them beat off, and like that's like the ultimate nut. Because technically we do that already, right?
I mean, that's porn. He just wants to watch porn live.
Live, yeah, like ultra.
He wants to be in the room and shit.
In the room and shit.
But that's just so much space, and to pay money for that, goddamn.
Yeah, I just thought that'd be a funny.
You got
bit.
like, there's so many resources that have to go into that. Like, you have to plan it out. You have to find the people. You got to you got to pay them unless they're into that freaky shit.
Yeah.
And then after that, you got to show up. I mean, that's not like beating the meat, bro. Beating the meat, you just rub one out and you go on about your day.
Yeah, but remember, his goal is that he's trying to like top every nut.
Okay.
And like.
Every nut has to be superior to the last.
To the next one, to the other one, right?
Right.
So he has to find ways to like top that nut, which is was also going to be part of it, like, which I think it might be a great idea for a short novel.
I think you could make a long ass novel with that. To be honest, like, there's a lot to unpack there. All
right. Well, yeah.
How far?
I was thinking maybe like 20 pages.
He will end up on anal necrophilia.
That's what I'm saying. The limit to where it can get crazy. Like, yeah. You would have to really come up with some funny ass.
You know, he will get pegged by a trans midget. I mean, it'll go all types of shit, bro.
Yeah. I was thinking of calling him Bernie.
Wild.
That was the main character. Bernie is on this mission.
Let me see where your priorities are at.
Go for it.
Just to give you a little test here. All right, so let's just say hypothetically, right? You were in a situation where before you're born, you got to choose whether or not you're going to have a cock, right? So basically the situation is as follows. For every finger that you're born without, you get an inch of cock, right?
Okay.
So are you going to be born without 5 fingers? Are you going to have a mandingo? You're going to be born without, with no fingers, right?
Damn.
For every finger that you give up is an extra inch of cock that you're going to have, right?
Right.
And so
that'll be your penis.
That's it.
Depending on how many fingers you chopped off.
Yeah, so how much do you value being able to fuck and satisfy a bitch, right? How much do you value this, right?
I think that's a bad question, because nowadays you can just get fingers.
What?
Like, you could just fucking you could maybe surgically put a fake finger on, you feel me? One that's not actually yours. Is that a way to do that?
You mean like the technology they use to like give people a hand and shit like that?
That was more
like the robotics?
Not the robotic shit, but actually try to put a finger. Or once it's chopped off, there's nothing you could do about that. I'm not sure. I'm asking.
I'm not saying chopped off. I'm saying you're born without it.
You're born without it, but can I just go buy a finger?
At where? The fucking Family Dollar? What do you do?
I'll hit up China. I'm just saying, I'm trying to find any way.
You can stick in another finger and it'll start working. I don't know.
I wasn't sure.
So how far are you willing to go?
So then, okay, so I would have to get the robotic fingers.
Okay. You're already saying I'm getting 10 inches of this shit.
Listen, I'm trying to make it work.
Fuck it.
Because you got to think about it. At the same time, if a dude, let's say he has a standard penis, which maybe is like 5 inches. Let's just say 5. That already is a hand off.
That is a hand. But you don't have to do it on just a hand. You could like
you could switch you could put like one finger here.
Yeah. You could also go like, for example, let's say that, you're like, all right,
we're just using fingers, right?
I don't want 6 inches. I don't want 7 inches. I want 7.5. So you could like cut half a finger off.
Okay.
You can play with this shit, no diddy. But I'm just putting that out there just so you know what the conditions are here, right?
I mean, well, first
you're saying you're going full Android. Fuck this shit.
Hold up. We need our thumbs to be able to use our hands, I believe. I believe they're they're most important.
They're extremely important.
So I think automatically we need to have...
You're going with 8 inches.
No, wait, hold on. And then you got to think of it like, bro, how many chicks are going to be smashing dudes that doesn't have a lot of fingers?
Right.
If that's our goal. I think the amount drops a lot.
Okay.
So...
I think between 1 finger and 3 fingers... The difference is already pretty much insignificant at that point. If you're missing a finger, already that's a problem. If you're missing all of them in a hand, that's a bigger problem.
Issue, yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying. So,
if you're missing fingers on both hands, that's...
Damn, dude. I might fucking, Because I gotta have something, bro. Let's keep it a buck. Like, I gotta have something, so like...
You going Android in this bitch?
I mean...
I'll go Android, bro. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying?
Because I think 5 at least is standard. And it's like, because I don't want to do any more. I don't want to do any more than 5, but I might do less than 5. I might do 4.
You might do 4.
But it's like, damn, 4 is pretty...
But you're still missing fingers and shit, bro. Like...
Damn, bro.
You might as well go robotic in this bitch, bro. Fuck it.
Robotic,
you know what I'm saying?
bro.
Like, you're hanging... You got a mandingo, and it's legit. You got 10 inches.
Right.
And you're rocking that shit.
I wouldn't want 10 inches, though. I'm straight, bro.
Okay, fine. 6 inches.
Yeah, then I would, yeah. I mean...
Okay, and then the rest is robot shit, okay? You put a condom on your robot finger and you finger a bitch before you plow her, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just putting that out there because it's important to have priorities in life, right?
Damn.
It is important to have priorities in life. Have you seen I've seen like these tweets from...
Where the fuck is Yosh?
I don't know what it is.
He's supposed to hit this blunt.
I don't know. He said he didn't want to smoke anyway, so...
Oh, okay.
But I mean, look. There's a situation that happens where I've seen these chicks on Twitter, they're like, 10 inches isn't big, bro. And I'm like...
Shut the fuck up.
What kind of... What do you have? Do you have the fucking Grand Canyon as a pussy? What do you...
Some girls do.
What the fuck are you talking about, lady?
You ever fucked a chick with a big-ass pussy?
What do you mean by big? You mean by, like, loose?
Just like she has a big pussy. Like, it's just like, damn, like, it doesn't feel as tight.
I mean, I fucked a chick that doesn't have a pussy that's that tight. But I don't know about, like... I mean, I don't think I've never met a situation where, like... It's
You were just plowing air and shit?
Yeah, bro. I've never like been in a situation where it's like, okay, this is
a fucking bucket.
This is designed for a different species, right? I've never...
Some chicks get stretched out, right?
Yeah, but that sounds like it's just painful for the chick.
Are porn stars like that?
Like what? Like loose like that?
Yeah.
Honestly, I've never fucked a porn star, but I would imagine that it probably does get a little bit looser than average, yeah.
Damn.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the pussy gets loose just by, like, fucking a hung motherfucker, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, bro, like, if you need more than 10 inches, like...
Nah, that's too much,
First
bro.
of all,
I don't think that's even enjoyable for
most
women,
women,
bro.
that's, like, painful. So
yeah, right.
I don't know what the fuck this chick is on about. She is... You were born into the wrong species, lady. You were born to...
She needs to get on the pod. We need to ask her some questions.
We definitely got to ask her some questions.
What you been through, shorty?
You know?
Who hurt you?
Yeah. That's something to think about, bro.
Who hurt you?
Yeah.
That's a lot. We need to ask that to a lot of people.
A lot of people don't have good answers for that, you know?
Yeah. Dude, I know you've seen this. Well, it's been like maybe like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But yo, Jay Leno got his shit rocked.
What?
Did you not see that?
The comedian?
Yeah.
What happened to
Not
him?
literally. I'm saying because he had he was on an interview, or like somebody caught him on the street and was asking him like, yo, because he had an eye patch on. Yo, my man's whole face is black, bro.
From what?
He said he fell on a hill.
That sounds like that's some shit that like
You really haven't seen that clip?
that's like some shit that the wife of a wife beater says, you know, like.
And then people were saying that because like I think he was staying at a Hampton Inn, and it was like, yeah, this dude like has some problems going on, like
He got rocked.
no, like the mob is like after him or somebody, like he owes somebody money. Look at this clip, bro. Play record.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it looks crazy,
What on earth happened to Jay Leno? Oh, your poor face. Look at my eye.
bro.
Oh my gosh. Jay Leno is all bruised up. The left side of his face is black and blue. His eye is swollen shut. And look at his injured wrist.
I broke my wrist, lost the nail on the finger, and then I'm all black and blue.
The comedian says...
Yeah, he definitely owes somebody money. Goddamn.
You see what I mean?
Holy
Like,
shit.
yo, that's not a hill, bro. Yo,
I mean, don't get me wrong. It could have been a lot of shit, but.
bro, how old is Jay Leno? Like in his 60s?
He's old enough, yeah.
Bro, if you fall on a hill, do you think I don't know, dog. It might have been.
It could happen.
Damn, dog.
It could happen, bro.
I seen that everybody on Twitter
Yeah.
was suspecting that the mob
Yeah.
was like, yo. But that's insane, bro. Shout out to Jay Leno, dog. And apparently he did this, like he even did the show like that and everything, like his with the eye patch and everything. Like this man was like,
I mean, good.
I mean,
You want to own that shit, bro. It's part of who you are now. There's no reason to hide it. It's who you are.
I don't know.
You're
dog.
fucking Patchy the Pirate. You
You think
know?
motherfuckers was like, yo, you better not say nothing either, bro.
That's a hard thing to do with a guy like that.
Say you fell on a hill, bro.
Yeah, he did. So he's good. Yeah. People are definitely going to ask questions about that shit, though. I mean, come on now.
I don't know, dog.
I still didn't get your opinion on dudes that watch chicks take a shit and beat off to that, because that's a thing, bro.
That might be mental illness, bro.
There's something wrong with that, bro.
You know what I was thinking too? Like we make like a track, because this is not related, but like a track with a weird theme, like a sexual horror. What do you think about that?
With sexual horror,
Yeah, like a fucking
like raping a bitch type shit.
no,
like,
bro.
what do you do?
Jesus Christ, no. Like just
Horrific, disgusting shit. Just
no, because it's like I got the idea from like this this game called Silent Hill.
okay.
And it's like a scary horror game type shit with like monsters and like crazy.
I see.
It's like Resident Evil, but like a scary horror version of it.
Okay.
Even like more just very eerie and like.
Okay.
And it had this song on one of the games, like I think it's like about like a strip club or something. And the song is so like. It gives that vibe where it's like on some sexual, but like at the same time it sounds evil. It's weird. Like it's such a. The track, it has layers, bro.
Some
It's,
naughty shit, but scary.
like yeah, but like scary. So I just
Okay.
thought that was dope. I was like, oh, that's such a mixing like these two forms of like expression
It is a lot.
that are not very linked to each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's good, bro. That,
And even doing that like on a track, like trying to like put that in words, like that would be so hard and like just different. I don't know. That's what I just thought that was bass. I had to.
I like that idea. Yeah.
That's different. But on your question about dudes who beat off to women shitters on camera, listen, man, I'll pass on that.
I understand that you'll pass on that, but they don't, and there's something to learn about these people because
They're nasty people.
they're out there.
That's kind of odd.
I'm not gonna front. I mean, I'll eat ass, bro, but I'm not.
As soon as I see any type of if shit, that's out of the picture.
But
bro.
I'm not getting into your. I'm not fucking.
That's not even healthy, bro.
I'm just not trying to get into your fecal matter. You know what I'm saying?
Chill, bro. That's OD.
It is a lot.
Yeah, we need to ask somebody that since nobody would admit that though, right?
You think there's something immoral about that?
Nah.
It's good, right? It's fine.
I mean, who am I to say? What do you mean, like philosophically or me personally?
No, I'm just saying, like, well, I mean, is it bad? Period. I mean,
Well,
Is it bad morally?
to beat off to a chick that's shitting?
Right. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think
They're
so.
not harming anybody.
I'm somebody who doesn't have a problem with pig fucking, so I mean, this is already.
Yeah, and there's not a good argument for that because it's like they're not harming anybody. Sure, maybe porn might be damaging your brain and
I
shit.
think it's bad for that person.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Porn might be, and especially watching maybe that type of
And
shit.
that chick is well, I just hope
Was sold by a
I
fucking-
hope she's doing better now.
Was sold in Dubai or some shit.
I can't explain it.
Apparently, that's what they make them do in Dubai.
Is the shit stuff?
They do the shit stuff.
Some
over there.
wild shit, bro.
It's like a known.
You gotta understand that, like, these rich Arab motherfuckers, like, you gotta, like,
They've done it all.
exactly. I mean, they have so much money. They fly these hookers in from Hollywood to over there, and they fuck them, and they do all types of weird shit to
Shit on
them.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's like what?
It gets to that point, like you know that Two Girls One Cup was made in Dubai. I mean,
Apparently, Two Girls One Cup was actually fake.
yeah, but it's definitely happened for real in Dubai.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That's yeah, it had to be.
You pay some of these women the right amount, they'll do fucking whatever.
Yeah, Dubai is such an interesting place.
It is.
It's just a bunch of people. It's not like it's a bunch of cultures in one. Technically, it's like all type of different ethnicities,
Yeah.
cultures, and. But apparently, it's very safe.
Safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
In regards of like.
I would imagine, right? Since they're so rich, they probably have good security.
Yeah, and they say that people would leave watches like on the thing, like on a table somewhere, and it would not
Nobody touches it.
Nobody touches
Right.
it. It's not.
I mean, to be fair, in some of the Arab countries, the crime for theft is like cutting off the arm. Right. I don't know if it's like that in Dubai.
No. You are right though that they are the punishment is like times 30 for like
Yeah.
just something minor
Yeah, which takes away a lot of the motivation to
to go over there.
to do it. Yeah, and also like if you steal it,
God forbid you get into a fight with somebody and it wasn't even your fault.
Right.
And now you're being punished.
I mean, think about the mindset. Like, for example, when somebody steals some shit, usually the person, if they steal something that's like a watch, they're usually not rich, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're rich, you don't really have the need to take that risk.
But everybody's kind of well put in Dubai.
Exactly. And so
So-
the likelihood of you needing to do that is low. And then if you did do it,
Right.
who are you going to sell the stolen watch to?
When nobody needs a stolen watch.
Right, and if they want to watch, they're not gonna fucking buy it from some dude in the street. They're gonna go and
So
buy
the
it
actual
somewhere
designer
they
spot
want.
or whatever,
and
yeah.
get the watch they want, not the one that you fucking jacked from somebody.
Yeah. So yeah, the way of living over there is completely different from the U.S. It's
Yeah, when there's a lot of resources, people don't have as much of an incentive to steal that way.
yeah. So but a lot of people try to be like, oh, we got to be like Dubai. I'm like, bro, no.
No,
Like,
you don't want to be like Dubai though.
but they'll compare it to the U.S. and it's like, bro, there's no comparison. Like they're completely different places.
and it's a small area. It's not like you can't make the world Dubai. I mean, the world's not.
Yeah.
We're not rich enough yet to get that type of shit going.
No, for sure.
You know. What do you think is the greatest good in life?
That's a good fucking.
Like, what is the
question.
greatest? What is the end? Like I mean, I know you're like Epicurean 50%.
Right.
Sort of Stoic 50%. Right.
Sure.
I was thinking about this.
The
'cause
greatest good.
Yeah, because when we talked about nihilism, I remember like I was explaining meaning, right? Because the idea of nihilism, right, is that there's no intrinsic meaning to life. And so there's no intrinsic meaning in the universe or any of that shit. But once I got to thinking about it, I ended up talking to you about like meaning as actually valuable. Like, for example, like the nihilists, they wouldn't necessarily deny suffering exists, right? Because suffering is a sensation, right?
But wouldn't that break their argument then?
I think it would break their argument that there's no point in searching for meaning if the nihilist is proposing absurdism, if they're saying that we should just accept the absurdity and not even try to come up with a subjective sense of meaning because that's stupid, that doesn't make any sense. I think that's ridiculous. I don't accept that, and I proposed instead that a sense of meaning would be the most the thing that a person should seek in life. But then the Stoics say, for example, that virtue is the greatest good, not that meaning is the greatest good. And so I sort of had a little debate with myself about whether or not virtue or meaning is the greatest good. Right? I had a little back and forth.
And just for clarity, virtue is what? Being live in accordance with nature?
Well, being in accordance with nature is the same thing as having virtue. So I don't want to make it seem circular. Virtue is basically reacting properly to the appearances of things.
Okay.
In other words, you have impressions, things that come to mind, and then you have the after you get like sensory information, after you perceive from the senses, then you decide what you're looking at, and you either accept,
you do something logically.
Right, you either accept or reject whatever it is that comes as a result of your sensory information.
Right. Okay.
And the way that you think, because the way that they saw the soul obviously as like a material thing, right? And so the material thing, basically, whenever you get an impression, they would say it's sort of like an imprint in the soul. And once you get enough of those imprints, then you develop a general impression in the mind, right? So you develop these general propositions of like what a dog is, for example, right? Because you've had a bunch of examples, and so you create a general one out of that.
Right.
And so the way they would see it is that if you assent, which means you accept something that's false, then obviously that's, to them, that's like harming the soul, because it makes it more imperfect, and it makes it so that you give into passions.
And accepting something false would be like...
Accepting something false could be, I mean, a lot of things. It could be, for example, like, let's say that you're in the...
Worrying about something that's not in your control?
Well, yeah, because then that would be pretty much in the worst case, because when you do that, then you basically are giving into the passions and living outside of nature.
But that would be technically hurting your soul, like whatever, like you just said.
That would be, because it would remove you from virtue, which is to them the only good.
Right.
This is one of the main issues I had, because the idea of virtue is supposed to be that you have a mind that is completely adapted to the will of nature. And they always say, for example, the foot, if it would... your foot, if it would talk, it would probably say, I want to be clean, not dirty. But there's some situations where the foot, since it's only a part of me, might have to step in mud to protect all of me.
Okay.
Right. So I might have to step in some mud sometimes if I'm running away from some animal that wants to eat me or some shit.
Right.
And in that situation, the foot should get dirty. Well, in the same way, the individual human should generally want to look out for itself and prefer the things that are good, like health and shit like that.
Right.
But sometimes there might be a situation where you might need to fucking sacrifice yourself in some way, because it serves a purpose beyond yourself. Right.
And what's an example of that?
Now that one might be, because the thing with the Stoic ethics is that they don't really go and give general vague ideas of what a person should do.
Is it, not to cut you off, but is it like moments when Socrates did what he did? When
they always give him as an example. Yeah, he's one of them.
Like how he pretty much took his own life. He pretty much said ethics over his life.
I think his example, they would give his example, and they did a lot of the time. I don't think his example, it's necessarily the case that you should do it. First of all, when they look at ethics, they're not looking at it from the perspective of, hey, everybody should act the way that this person acted in that circumstance.
Sure.
No, they take into consideration the variability of
all
things.
The factors of what's going on.
Yeah, because if they give a general proposition about saying, for example, you should never steal, right? Now, I could say that generally, and people would agree generally, but you can talk to pretty much anyone and be in a situation where it'd be like,
someone
okay,
who's starving, who hasn't ate in days.
Right, and so they might come up with a situation where it's like, okay, in this situation, the right thing to do would be to steal. But that's not, the one that you mentioned, where somebody hasn't eaten in days, that's not an example that the Stoics would give. They would say, for example, if you're somebody that is going to do a lot of good, right, because you need to do something. For example, if you need to go and warn everybody that there's danger impending. Let's just give it hypothetically, right? You're going to warn the people in your city that they're about to attack.
Right.
And that's your duty. And so basically what you would do is you're starving somehow in the middle of a fucking in the middle of the fucking town, and there's some dude there that has some great food, and you eat it so that you stay alive.
But you didn't warn the people.
And you are able to warn the people because you ate it and you stayed alive.
Okay, gotcha.
It's just a very out there example, but they would say in that case it would be acceptable to steal, and it would be the right thing to do
because you had to stay alive to be able to tell the people.
Right.
So is it just like logically being right, like, or like trying to make the best outcome, or
it would be logically living in accordance to the human nature? There's nature in the human sense, right? Like your nature,
right.
The things that you should do, and then that should also be in accordance with the greater nature, which is the nature of humanity overall.
So that's what I was asking overall. Is it, and in a sense, if it's for the greater good of humanity, you should take your life away. That would be considered a virtue. If it was
in that sense the greater good, then that would be the right thing to do.
Right.
Although that's not usually it's not necessarily the case.
I know, I'm just throwing a crazy example. I know.
You know, I don't want to make it like a Jesus figure sort of thing, but let me look. One of the reasons I mentioned that is because I was thinking of meaning as being like the greatest thing that a person can have, the greatest sense that a person can have.
Needing?
No, meaning.
Oh, meaning.
Right, like a strong sense of meaning. But then I would ask myself, well, what would give you a strong sense of meaning? Right, and and then what would give you a strong sense of meaning? I mean, because the idea that I remember one time you asked me, like, what if somebody like is a serial killer and that gives them a very good sense of meaning, right? And so I had to make a distinction between right meaning and wrong meaning, which is to say that like if you act
like the serial killer,
if you act like the serial killer, that would be an example of wrong meaning, because that leaves everybody worse off and doesn't get anyone closer to having their own sense of meaning fulfilled.
Because they're killing people?
Well, because you are killing people. So I would call that a wrong sense of meaning, and that it's based on something that is not adaptive to the will of nature, if you were to take the Stoics case.
Right, they would obviously not agree with that, right?
Right, and so then I asked myself, well, then what does give people like the usual people a strong sense of meaning? I don't know anyone that gets a strong sense of meaning out of like murdering people. You might get a serial killer, but they don't get a sense of meaning out of it. What they get is a hedonistic pleasure that's temporary out of doing it, which is not a sense of meaning.
Right, I would agree.
And so that actually would just be a twisted example. That's why I say it's wrong meaning. It's not fulfilling for the individual. It just satisfies the...
So do the serial killers have a sense of meaning?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
But I would say that like when it comes to like the whole virtue versus meaning debate that I had with myself, hey man, I mean, it seems to me that like it can't just be about a sense of meaning, because the sense of meaning is just that. It's a sense. And that can't be like the ultimate aim, because the sense has to be based on something. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Right. And
it has to be based on acting good. And what is acting good? Well, acting good is what, I mean, if you're acting properly, that's like the symptom of having virtue. But it's not really, because they to them, like the sage is somebody who could... They would act, and whatever act they take is going to be the right one, because that's they are a sage, right? So they wouldn't go around and kill somebody for the fuck of it or some shit like that.
Right, they got it all figured out. That's
exactly, just hypothetically, just going with this sci-fi person that never existed, okay? But then I would say, well, what gives people a sense of meaning is just acting that way. But having virtue is something that comes from thinking properly. If you think in accordance with reason, if you think reasonably about shit, then you're going to end up being able to act accordingly. You would act accordingly because you have the right impressions. You have the right ideas that you're
not accepting things that are false.
Right. You're accepting things that are true. Now, you don't know everything, but you're accepting things that are true rather than things that are false.
To the best of your ability.
Exactly. And so that's going to be reflected in the way that you act. So the act is an effect that comes from the way that you're thinking about things, the way that you challenge impressions and act accordingly. But then a sense of meaning.
Yeah, but if that person,
Yes.
sense of meaning is definitely important though too.
Yes. This is what I was trying to figure out.
Because let's say you are the virtue guy and everything is
Yeah.
I mean, how far are you gonna go in life, or what are you gonna? I mean, you need like that sense of meaning to wake up and go to work, or you need like that.
Oh, that's just the drive. That's like the motivation, though, right? That's
Then what exactly is sense of meaning then?
well, sense of meaning is a sense of being fulfilled because you did the proper thing. The Stoics, for example,
It's just a feeling of like, oh, I did this. I'm proud. This and that.
well, I mean, how could I put it? Like, here's part of what I wrote when I was debating myself. I was saying that meaning is the greatest good, right? Because it lets you get a sense of fulfillment because you acted properly. It's not necessarily that you're some fucking Jesus guy and you gave some homeless dude a fucking $1 or some shit.
Right.
Could just be that you got up and you handled your business and you did everything that you told yourself you were going to do today. Right.
And
You weren't a weak bitch who slept over.
Right. And it's just that feeling you get
Right. That's
of accomplishing that.
right. And so basically there's
So it's just
that.
a sensation.
Yeah. So you have to act in accordance with reason and the broader nature. And I mean the broader nature is that like it can't just be. It can be good for you if you do something well, but I mean that's fine. And that should be the main thing that you focus on. But then there's also like it shouldn't be something that affects the rest of shit. Like if you start a business, typically people pay you because you make their lives better. Right. They get something out of what you offer. So there's that. My thing is that they were saying that I was saying that virtue is what gives you an actual sense of fulfillment for acting properly.
Right.
And so, but I think that a sense of meaning is something that you get from having virtue. Something I haven't clarified in this discussion that we're having is that the Stoics did see virtue as a state of the soul.
A state of the soul.
Yeah, and you could sort of say soul in the same sense that you say mind, right? So it's a state of the mind, right? It's the way the mind is.
Right.
And so it's the way that you are. It's the proper form of mind. So if you have that, you have virtue.
Okay.
And so they would say virtue is its own reward. So a part of the mind, right, is feeling good when you do something good.
Right.
Now, another thing that I proposed, I was like, all right, well, if virtue is its own good, and it makes you feel good, well, let me just flip it around, right? Let me just say that we live in a world where every time that you do something good for someone, you feel like shit. You feel like an emotional wreck, right?
I was gonna ask you like,
Yeah.
because you were saying that a person that doesn't do good can have a sense of meaning.
No, I didn't say that they can't have a sense of meaning. I would just say that they would have a wrong sense of meaning.
You would have a wrong sense of meaning.
Because there's nothing. I mean, first of all, it's not according to human nature,
Right.
in the sense that it's not adaptive for humanity. It's not good for you as an individual to be a murderer. It adds nothing to you, and it definitely doesn't add anything to other people unless you're like murdering serial killers or some shit.
Even if it made them gave them a sensation after they did it, you would say it's only hedonistic.
Well, there is no sensation of meaning that I know of that people get from that. But yeah, so hypothetically, if there were, I mean, I would say that's a wrong sense of reason, because I don't think it's in accordance either with human nature.
That's what
generally.
I know. It wouldn't be good for the greater good of. There's nothing positive. There's nothing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything valuable in that.
And that's why I had asked you about serial killers having
Yeah.
a sense of meaning, but you said you didn't know. So.
Well, I said after I asked that question, like, what if every time that you did something virtuous, you felt like shit? Which is kind of similar.
Yeah. That's why I brought that
Sort
up.
of like
again,
an
right.
inverse. Like instead of feeling good by doing bad, you
Just
feel bad by
biologically,
doing good.
you just don't. It doesn't. Right.
Yeah. So let's just say that was the case, right? So suppose that having right reason and you act in accordance with nature, then it caused you to feel terrible, to feel sad, then would virtue still be good if it made you feel bad, right? And so then I tried to answer from the Stoic perspective. I was like, all right, so if acting virtuously harmed a man,
I gotta hear this.
it would not be virtue.
It would not be virtue.
Virtue is only good because it's the greatest thing that you can get. If it harms you, then it can't be the greatest good that you can get, and it wouldn't be virtue.
Wait. When they said it wouldn't be virtue, is it not virtue because they didn't get the sense of meaning?
No, it's not virtue because it harms you. Because I gave them the hypothetical, the idea of like, okay, so if virtue is something that's gonna, if every time that if you had virtue and it made you feel terrible, and every time you did something that was a virtue, an action that
Virtuous
was caused
act.
by virtue, you felt terrible. Could you still say that virtue is the greatest good
For that person?
for anybody?
Yeah, or anybody that would go through
Yeah.
that. Right.
And so the idea would be then, well, if virtue harms you or somebody else, then it wouldn't be virtue. Because virtue is only good because it's the greatest thing that a person can acquire, the greatest state of soul or mind, if you will.
Right.
And so if that harms you, then it's not the greatest state
For
anyone. Because
for-
harming is not a great state. To
Right.
harm yourself or harm somebody else. I mean, that's completely against what people want.
But that doesn't answer the question, though.
What is the question?
What should that person do then? Like, what if virtue isn't the greatest good?
No, but virtue. That's what I'm saying. Virtue is by the definition that we're giving is that it's
And it's the greatest good.
right. So if it harms you, how could it be
Virtue,
how could it be
period.
virtue? That's like saying if it wasn't virtue, would you still agree that it's virtue?
And that's when I asked you, is it not virtue because of the way the person...
Because of the way you feel.
No, they accepted something that was false. Was it their actions? Was it how they...
No. The hypothetical I gave is just an example where a person has virtue, and that virtue, by when they act according with it or think according to it, they feel terrible.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible example. The reason it's a terrible example is because it's not virtue.
Then it's not virtue automatically because it's harming you.
Because her virtue is supposed to be the best state that you can achieve for your own benefit.
Okay.
And that's basically how it's. So if it doesn't do that, then how could it be virtue? Imagine the best state of mind that you could have.
Right.
The best perfected mind that you could have. I don't mean like in terms of your intelligence. I mean just in terms of how you think about the world.
Just overall.
And how your relationships with other people, where you think about life, all that shit.
Everything's healthy. Everything's going great.
Right. The greatest one, the one that you want, is not the one that's harming you.
Right.
If it was a harmful one, how could it be good? I mean, that's like saying that, okay, if virtue was bad, would it still be good? That's why the example is a problem. That's why you would have to deny that that's virtue, right? So, I mean, I would say that...
Then wait, what's wrong with the person then? I feel like we're denying that.
No, there's nothing. It's just a hypothetical example I gave where if every time hypothetically that you did something.
But is that impossible or something?
I don't. No, it just wouldn't be virtue because I'm like using the same word but meaning something else.
I know, I get it, but it's like I feel like maybe I'm wording it wrong then.
You want to say, okay, let's say this was the perfect state of mind and the person still felt bad somehow.
Yeah, like that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, is that? Like, do they not see that's possible or something? Is that something?
No, they would say that. I mean, remember they're trying to live in accordance with nature, and so you've presented something that is not the nature that exists.
Oh, okay.
And so, how could they live in accordance with it if that's not? I mean, they would have to find something else that's in accordance with nature in that sort of situation because, I mean, it just wouldn't make any sense to say that you're the world that they live in is different. It's the one that we live in.
Yeah.
And if you had virtue, you would not feel bad because I mean, part of it is that once you, first of all, if you have virtue, there's only three positive feelings positive types of feelings that the person with virtue gets.
3?
right? And one of them is joy. The joy from just fucking having that state of mind. I mean, feeling fucking good and shit, not having anything bother you and shit, and knowing how to act, knowing what you're supposed to do, not being stressed out by shit.
Right.
Just feeling at ease like that. The other one is a sense of like desire, but it's a sense of desire that has to do with things that you control, right? It's like Epictetus says, he's like, transfer, your desire and aversion should be based on things that are in your control.
Okay.
So remove desire and aversion from things outside of your control. Place desire and aversion in things that are in your control.
Right.
And then
Strictly.
that is basically the idea of, well, if because the problem that he sees with desire and aversion outside of your control is that if you desire something that's not in your control, well, you're bound to be disappointed at some point, right? Because you, at one point, if you want the new PS5 and they ran out of PS5s,
you're stressing about it.
You're disappointed now.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, if you're averse to something, if you have an aversion, which is something that you don't want in the future. So you don't want to get, fucking, you don't want that slutty girlfriend that fucks every single cock that comes by to fuck another guy. Well, I mean, if you're averse to that, right, and she ends up fucking another dude, then obviously you're going to feel wretched about that.
Yeah.
And so the idea is like, well, transfer desire and aversion to things that are in your control. And so then you can feel good about things that you can do, and you can feel bad if you do something wrong, but you shouldn't feel bad because if you know what's wrong, then you wouldn't do it. You would just shun the action itself.
Isn't that very, like, you would do it? Like, how will we know you will do it?
Do what?
You're saying, what do you mean, like, that we would know we would do it?
Well, if you know, look, if you're averse to certain actions, right? Because what is an aversion? It's like not wanting something to happen in the future, right?
Right.
Well, if you're averse to things that are within your control, then you're not going to do it.
Right.
Because why would you do something that you don't want to do? Something that you feel terrible about doing, something that you don't want. If it's within your control, like by definition, I mean,
people have troubles.
Yeah, but see, they would say that that's because the person is not is running on those faulty impressions, which produce passions. And the passions, there's 4 types of passions.
Which are?
The 4 types of passions are, there's desire and aversion, which have to do with like the things that a person thinks is going to be good in the future. And the things that a person wants to avoid from the future, right? And then there's like the what is it called? The ones that have to do with like the present. So there's one that has to do with like feeling bad in the present for something that's happening or something that you think is bad is happening. And then feeling good in the present because something that you think is good is happening.
That we shouldn't do that.
No, it's just that the passions override reason.
Wait, hold up. We're feeling good for something that's happening in the present that we think is good?
If you mistakenly think it's good. If it's not good, if it's not actually good.
But if it's good, if it's actually good, it's okay.
If it's actually good, it's okay.
Oh, okay. I was just clarifying that. Okay.
Right.
It's when you're mistakenly... Okay.
Right. If you have a false impression and you're happy or sad on the basis of something that's incorrect or untrue...
Yeah.
Well, then the feelings that you have are completely irrational.
You think it's irrational to just pretend to be... Not pretend, but like... Would that be like some fake it till you make it type of...
No, that's not what I mean. No, it just means if you have an idea that's false, and the idea that's false is what's making you feel good or bad...
Right.
Then your feelings are not...
Valid.
You could say, for example, they're not justified if you want.
They're not justified.
They don't make any sense.
You don't think overriding that has any benefit?
Overriding the passions?
Over you feeling good over something that's not justifiable, like and feeling good about it. The idea. You don't think there's any benefit of that?
I mean, you could say that there's some benefit maybe in. I mean, you would have to maybe give me an example here, but I mean, if you were to say like benefit
Overall, you probably wouldn't agree with it, but I'm just saying like.
But in terms of the good, no, because the good is like having the right reason, having proper impressions,
You think
and
that
assenting to right impressions, and then you can act accordingly, and then you can actually have your preferred or dispreferred indifference. Because we haven't mentioned that part of it yet, right? Because it's like, oh, things that are in your control, okay. A lot of people hear that, they're like, well, there's not much left for me then, right? In the
Right.
world, it's just things in my control. It's just the way I act, that nothing else
Sure.
matters. And so, but I also would say, no, there's preferred and dispreferred indifference. So there's things that are indifferent, right? Things that don't really, that are not good,
Okay.
but that you should still pursue or not pursue, because it is in accordance with nature to pursue them. So you should pursue,
Something, even though it's not good.
even though it's not good, because their definition of good is very strict. It's just virtue is the only
That's
good.
it.
Because virtue is the only thing that can make a man feel actually good in life.
What's something good that we
Consistently.
should do though?
It's not what you should. I mean, you could be perfectly miserable on the inside and still do the same action as somebody that has virtue. They could both do the same actions with completely different states of mind. And one could be feeling great and one could be feeling terrible. The thing about the Stoic sage is that he feels great because he doesn't have these ridiculous worries that have to do with trying to, control everything
Right.
that he cannot control. I mean, the idea of Epictetus is like, look, you can't control any of this shit. And the problem is that you still think that you can.
You can.
And you still think that the good is being able to control things that you cannot control. And of course that's going to make you feel bad because you're fucking deluding yourself here.
Right.
And so if you just looked at nature for what it actually is, and what it is you can control the shit you do and not the shit that anybody else or anything else does, then you'll be fine. Then you can start, trying to fucking do shit in the world, right? Without thinking that you have some magical abilities of controlling other people.
These motherfuckers are just trying to be stress free. Yo. You think that's what it was, in the beginning?
Oh, they definitely thought that peace of mind was a side effect from it, but they didn't think it was the greatest good. They thought it was just a part of what comes from it. So you're going to feel great if you have the right state of mind, if you have reason according to nature, if you think properly.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to feel great.
Right.
And so the other part of that is like, because this is why I brought in the whole sense of meaning thing. I was like, was a sense of meaning not good? If virtue is the only good? Well, again, remember, virtue is a state of the soul, so a state of the mind, right? And a part of the mind is feeling good. The mind does feel good. You have a good sensation. You have that joy from virtue.
From virtue.
It's not from doing, by the way. It's just from having that right state of mind.
Just the state of mind.
I mean, you could just be a person that has the completely right state of mind, and it's not that you're some fucking Gandhi guy. You're not Jesus or some shit.
Right.
You could just be a regular dude.
So virtue is just literally the perfect state of mind.
That's
the goal
yeah,
of the
think
Stoics.
about it like that. That's pretty much what it is. Because I don't want to make it seem like it's some fucking Jesus shit. It's not that. It's not being the fucking philanthropist. Right.
That's interesting. That's a good way to put it. Like, to simplify it.
That's what it is. But the whole thing about meaning is, I mean, meaning would be a part of that. So meaning would be a part of the state of the mind, a sense of meaning that a person would get.
It's like it adds to it. Like, it's like...
Right. It would be a part of the state of the soul, right? So like the condition of the material soul, which is the mind, basically, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's my TED Talk.
That was pretty dope. Shout out to the Stoics.
Respect. I don't know, bro. I just end up reading them a lot, and then I end up... Because I've been going balls deep into their shit. Like, I've been going into, like, the fucking...
I mean, for a while now, right?
Yeah, bro. Like, I've been reading the fucking... Like, the Anthony Long, this guy, he's a fucking... he's a scholar of the...
Hold on, bro. Wait, let me see if it stopped. Oh, no, it didn't stop.
He's a scholar of the history of the of Hellenistic philosophy, and it's just this fucking encyclopedia he wrote. It's so fucking in depth.
Word?
It's so fucking balls deep. I was like, holy shit, bro. How the fuck did these guys come up with this type of shit?
Damn.
Because it's some wild shit they were coming up with, bro. It's so fucking out there. So unexpected. You know, to see the soul as a material thing is a pretty wild thing. To be a compatibilist before compatibilism existed is a wild thing. To come up with propositional logic before it was rediscovered in like the 19th century is a wild thing.
Oh.
You know?
You think? I mean, you obviously think the Stoics were one of the greatest, right?
I think they created the best philosophy I've ever come across.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot of their stuff that's obviously nowadays we would clearly see it as bullshit.
Okay.
Right, like nowadays we would clearly see, like the idea that the universe has a telos.
Yakuza, man.
Or an end. Like that idea that the universe has a fucking telos or an end, right? That it's a rational being. That's pantheism, basically. I mean, no one's gonna. The vast majority of people are not gonna accept that view nowadays, right?
That it's gonna end?
No, that it has an end, that it has a purpose, right?
That's what he means when you say it has an end?
Yeah, that there's an end to it, that there's a purpose to it. I don't mean an end in terms of time. I mean an end in terms of like a purpose.
I don't.
When people say, for example, to what end, right? Oh, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go to college. To what end? For what purpose? Right.
For what purpose?
That's what I mean by that. Yeah.
And is there a specific purpose there?
Well, the universe is a reasonable being, right? It's a huge reasonable being, and so all of the beings within nature should live according to it, because it's the greater being. Mm-hmm. And it knows all, right? It's like Zeus or whatever. So you wouldn't want to be against that, because that's the fucking god. And who the fuck are you or whatever? Now that nowadays is all bullshit, right? And then on the other hand, there's other things that are bullshit as well. You know?
Wait, the Stoics were thinking it like that?
Oh yeah, they believe that.
Yeah?
Yeah, they believe that. They believe the universe is a rational being. And by the way, God is a material being, just like everything is material, except for things like sayables or propositions.
But what was their reasoning for that, though? Like, why did they think that?
They just saw everything as material.
That's it?
They saw it. They were like, well, where does it come from? How does movement occur?
They couldn't be on
in the
some
universe?
woo, some god shit. They're like, nah, it has to be, like, material. Like,
They also... Yeah, it was material. Like, even your soul was material.
everything.
It was
just-
a lighter material.
Sure, but it's still...
Because I think the word soul in ancient Greek is probably, I think it was pneuma,
Okay.
which is like the word for breath,
Okay.
right?
Interesting.
So, you know, people talk about your last breath and your soul leaves out through that shit, and it's like the breath.
That
We
is-
always see the soul, and it looks like somebody tried to color air. Like if you look at Casper the Ghost or some
Yeah,
shit,
it's
right?
like some...
It's like a lighter material. That's why they're floating and shit.
It's like a gray, like a...
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's, but it is a material in terms
Something, yeah. It's like a...
Yeah.
Right.
And they would see the universe and God and everything. It's all just, you're all just part of this gigantic thing. So it's like pantheism, basically.
So the Stoics were pantheists?
Basically pantheist. Yeah.
Damn. Interesting.
And so they had that view.
Oh, shit. That they couldn't, yeah.
That is, so that obviously you can't, I'm not going to fucking accept that proposition, right?
I mean, you can't blame people that were living...
No, 100%. No, they came up with so much, bro. Like, with so little resources. Like, I got to give it to them. 100%.
I mean, that sounds cool, though. What do you think
Yeah.
if everything was material?
I mean, I think whether it's material or whether it's made of consciousness or whatever, at the end of the day, it still does what it does.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would make a big difference if the material was an illusion and the consciousness is what's actually out there, rather than matter is out there and it's producing consciousness. But everybody knows consciousness, the feeling of being alive, is not matter.
No, yeah.
I mean, to try to explain that away by just saying, yeah, no, it's just your brain. What about my brain? I mean, how does that explain the fact that I feel something?
It's mixed in with this, like...
Like, you can say there's a relationship and shit, and that these things are associated, but to say that it's just that, that explains nothing about my experience. That doesn't tell you anything about how you feel day to day or why you have an experience at all. Why it doesn't just feel like being a robot that doesn't feel anything to be alive.
It's definitely linked to your mind.
Yeah, it's 100%. Mind and body are definitely linked. I just don't fully understand how, and nobody does. And whoever the fuck is trying to tell me they do, I demand to see your fucking evidence, bro, because that's a wild story to try to tell me.
Yeah, bro. Fucking,
Hold up, bro. I'm gonna take a piss.
we'll be back.
All right, we're back at it. What were you saying?
Abe's back from his piss, and we're back to pod. Listeners, I am a little blasted, but
You were telling me something about this, the guy Firas
Zahabi, I believe.
Yeah.
It was pretty much somebody asked him about atheist, and he pretty much says that there is no atheist.
So there's someone that this guy you're talking about. He's claiming that there are no atheists.
Yeah, that either you believe in a god or gods or just something, but pretty much, and we'll watch the clip if maybe I butcher it right now. It's right quick, but I believe his argument is that first, I think he starts getting into like, might be idealism, but he starts talking about how like, correct me if I'm wrong, he's like, okay, you know what, like, what does he talk about? He talks about like, oh, like in like when you dream or like let's say you've seen something, like a dog before. You know what a dog is based off all the times you've had an interaction with it. You've had an experience with it. Just based off those experiences, now you know what a dog is. If somebody were to tell you, oh, imagine a hotel with 2 wings on it, just some random shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing that exists, but you can imagine it because you know what a hotel is and you know what wings are.
Right.
Okay. So he pretty much starts with that, and then he pretty much says that we know what God is without any presentation of what he is or an idea of what he is, like you know what I mean? Like that's pretty much what he kind of. That's pretty much what he says. I know I might be butchering it, so you might want to watch it, but that's kind of.
Yeah, go ahead and
we'll be back, guys.
Yeah.
And we just watched the clip, listeners. I think I kind of more or less explained it well.
So I guess the idea of his is it's similar to a lot of the things that Hume mentions because it's something like again, his argument is about why he doesn't think that they're actual atheists. He thinks that in their heart of hearts, they actually do believe in God because they've gotten the impression of God, and the reason they've so let me take a step back and sort of try to clarify his argument as best as I can.
He also said that like the idea that we're even speaking about it, you understand what I mean when I said God.
Right.
That I think that's like the main.
He starts by
like
giving
if I were to give you, if I just said Kaluvra fish, you'd be like, there's no.
Well, that's just a sound.
Because there's nothing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't have an experience with what I just said. That
right.
You don't know what that is. You don't. So because we all.
Okay.
In a sense, know what God is, or I think that's what he's kind of. But go ahead, you explain it as well. Maybe
Well, I mean, so part of it is that he starts by talking about a blind person. And it's if you talk to a blind person and you talk to them about the color red, I mean, they understand that people mention the color red because it's something that other people have that he doesn't have access to. He doesn't have access to sight.
Right. So he's saying it's people's words for it.
Yeah. So he's basically he is not someone who understands red because he doesn't have experience with red. And so if you don't have experience of something, well, then you can't really know what it is.
You can't even like imagine it. You don't have no.
That's what he's saying, right? And then he goes on, and he asks about things in combination. So if I ask you, this is not the example he gave, but if I ask you to imagine a red dragon, right? Mm. Well, you've seen like growing up cartoons with dragons and shit like that, and you know what the color red is if you're not the blind guy,
right?
And so you can imagine a red dragon. So this is like a conjunction. There's like
that's what I asked you earlier.
Combination of two things. You put them together. You don't know them combined, but you can imagine them combined because you know them independently.
Or not even like just like something that's not a thing that's real and material. and you
Yeah.
just morph them into your own thing. You
Yeah.
could do it because of the.
You can combine
But yeah.
thoughts and perceptions in your mind.
Right.
And then he goes on to say, for example, well, if I talk to an atheist about God, they have a conception of God, and so already in that point, they're sort of demonstrating that that they do have experience with it. Otherwise, they wouldn't know what it is that I'm talking about.
Right.
So I would say, for example, say that I were talking to somebody who believes that dragons are real. And then I talk to that person about a dragon,
Right.
and I try to convince them that dragons are real. I mean, that person tries to convince me that dragons are real. I would say, for example, no, dragons aren't real. He would say, well, you have the idea of a dragon, so I mean, of course it's real.
We're speaking about it. We know
Right,
about it.
where you're admitting it's real. Now, I'll grant that that's not a good example, because his example, the part of the reason he mentions it is because the idea of God is common across humanity.
Right. That's
Right.
kind of his whole.
Now, let me give you the real.
We didn't watch the whole thing either, but
I'll tell you the real reason why I think that's a problem. The real reason why I think that his argument is a problem is because it doesn't tell you anything about whether or not a person actually believes something. He's claiming that unless you have actual experience with it, then
wouldn't you having an experience with it say you believe in it?
well, if you have an experience in it, but an experience in what sense? Because you could make an argument, for example, what is God? If I were to say that the idea of God is just basically a supreme being, right? A being who is responsible for the existence of the universe.
Right. You came to that conclusion.
Well, then you could just say that could be a combination of shit the same way that somebody made up the idea of a dragon, right? And it's a combination of shit that happens commonly across cultures, but it doesn't happen commonly across cultures with a singular God. There's a lot of...
But I think you're putting something...
There's a lot of polytheistic religions.
I just think it's strictly the idea of God.
Yeah,
of
but
just,
what is the idea of God, and how does he know that the atheist is thinking about the same thing that he's thinking of?
I mean, we don't know that, but...
We don't. But he's claiming that the person does believe that.
I think we all can agree that it's like something... I mean, we don't all agree on what God might be or
We definitely
is.
don't. There's different religions for a reason, and a lot of them are polytheistic.
But just the idea of it, right?
Right,
like
the
this,
idea of
this
it.
thing that
Yeah.
it's like...
He claims that the only reason that people have it
is because we've already had an experience, I
right.
guess. Right?
I guess the onus is on him to show that that's the reason why people have the idea of God.
Right.
Because if he's using the argument of Hume, right, it's sort of like, if you don't have direct experience with something, then you don't know it, right? You can't really come up with it in your mind because you've never had experience with it through the senses. And so I don't think that's a very good way of trying to phrase that. I don't think it's a good argument. And part of it is because of the reason I just told you, but I also don't think it's a good argument because I don't think it demonstrates either the existence of God, though I grant that he's not trying to demonstrate the existence of God, he's just trying to claim that atheists are not atheist. So his point is basically atheist or not atheist because they can imagine the idea of God. And the only way they could have imagined the idea of God is if they actually met God or had an experience with God. I'd say that's a wild take, but the reason why I say that's a wild take is because, it's not just that. It could just be that people, for example, people.
But doesn't his analogy kind of isn't that kind of true though? The only way you can imagine of something like that is because you've had an experience with it.
Yeah, but
that's kind of why he's like giving God.
No, I don't think that's necessarily the case because I can have an imagination I could have an illusion of a dragon.
Right. Okay, sure.
That doesn't mean it exists.
But you've had an experience.
I've never had an experience with a dragon.
Not physically, but you've seen it somewhere. You've had an experience with it.
Right, but that doesn't mean that it's real. You understand? Like, people believe in God, fine.
Yeah, but you've lived your life to know that dragons are real. You've had so many experiences.
That they're not real.
No, that they are real.
I don't believe they're real.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're not real. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, dragons, right. Exactly.
Okay.
Now you threw me off. Wait,
But
what?
you know that they're not. You know that they're not real. But that doesn't stop you from being able to imagine them. In the same way, you can understand the idea of God and still not think that God is real. So the idea that it's a common idea has nothing to do with whether or not, you actually believe in it. Just because you can imagine it, right, and it's common, that doesn't mean everybody believes in it. That's part of what his argument boils down to. People imagine it, and they can't imagine things unless they've had experience with it, which, by the way, let's try to imagine where this concept of a singular God comes from. Not the polytheistic one, because he didn't really address that. Because I guess he would try to claim that Hindus believe in one God, which is, okay, you want to try that? Go for it.
I don't think he did, but...
Well, he says everybody believes...
but I think he later says in a God or gods. I think he also says that.
Okay, you can imagine the idea of gods. But see, that's problematic because then that's two different concepts. Because the idea of gods, they're not all powerful. Because if they were all powerful, then they wouldn't be different.
There
wouldn't be a bunch of them. Because you can't have everybody be all powerful.
I don't remember his part on the all God shit, but
We didn't listen to it, so I'm not even going to try to address that at this point. But that's part of the problem for his one God thesis for the atheist, right? So why doesn't he meet a bunch of atheists that believe in that are denying the idea of various gods, which they do? Well, the reason is because most of them are raised in a place where people believe in a single God. But the idea of a single God is a pretty recent idea.
But I was gonna
in terms of like religious history. For most of the time, people did not believe in a single God. They were polytheistic.
Sure. To try to go against his argument, wouldn't like you having experiences in life that people have spoken about God, religion is like popular. So you're gonna...
Yeah. Let's try to analyze what that is, the idea of God, right? Because he says, for example, that you can combine different impressions and create an impression that doesn't exist.
Right.
Okay, so what is God, right? He's all powerful, right?
Okay.
So people have power. You can imagine somebody having all the power.
Right.
Okay.
So attributes
he's a supreme being.
You see it in humans, and then you form it into...
It's the ultimate extension of a human being.
Right. I don't know.
So I don't understand. There's nothing missing in people to be able to come up with that concept with just the impressions that we have. There's a universe. There's a lot of questions. There's a fear of death. There's impressions. The impressions can be used to create the concept of a God.
Yeah.
There you go. By the way, he doesn't mention that for the longest time in humanity, right, the religions were not monotheistic. They didn't believe in a single God. So most of human history before the monotheism of like either Zoroastrianism or the Hebrews, the Jews, before that, it was gods, plural, right? And they were seen very different. They had like a role. They were like extensions of nature that were used to explain nature. Mm-hmm. They were nothing like this singular idea of God. So his idea that everybody has that singular concept of God, that's not even historically accurate. It took thousands of years of humanity for it to even evolve into that.
I don't know if I don't know. I don't know if the concept of God could be subjective to certain people. Just the idea of it.
But then it wouldn't be the same thing that they're talking about.
So it would be different ideas.
And so it would not be. It would refute his own case, his own argument, because the problem is he's making the argument that the person knows what you're talking about because they have experience with it.
Right.
And so he's claiming basically that all atheists have experience with God, and they denied that experience somehow.
Pretty much.
If that's his argument.
Yeah, we didn't see the whole thing yet, but I mean that kind of is his argument, I guess. It's kind of like you're ignoring it by the fact that we're speaking on it and debating.
I don't recall any experience with God.
No.
And so if he's saying I knew God, like there's a certain point where he showed up and I sort of ignored him and be like, you're fake. And now I just live repressing the idea of God.
Yeah, but what about, like, if we were having convos about things that meant exactly nothing, we would not be... You don't think the fact that we are speaking about something that has no type of like, we don't know what it is, we can't see it. Like, you don't think that's kind of more of his argument?
No, he's saying that we do know what it is.
Right. No, but I think he means like an idea of it, right? Like the idea of God.
He means you've had an experience with God. I mean, if you've had an experience with the idea of a single God who's all powerful and all knowing and loving or whatever, and he's like perfect, that's not something that comes to everybody naturally. It didn't come naturally to people in ancient Greece. Even the god of gods, Zeus, was not the one who like created everything.
But there wasn't a lot of atheists back then, right?
And no, there weren't
There
atheists.
weren't any,
There
right?
weren't atheists.
There weren't.
But their idea of gods was completely different. Their idea of gods was like, for example, Zeus.
Greek gods and shit.
Their gods were like raping people and shit.
Right.
They were not all good, and they weren't really all powerful. And they didn't create everything. Like Zeus didn't create everything. He was created.
That's the thunder dude, right?
Yeah, so he was not...
Fucking Zeus. Wasn't he? Don't they be smashing all the chicks and shit?
Yeah.
Gods be living life.
And then in ancient Egypt, there's a shitload of gods as well.
Oh yeah. What are they yapping about?
Similar shit.
Egypt gods?
Yeah, they have Ra. I mean, they have Toph. They have a shitload of them. I mean, you've seen a lot of them depicted. Sometimes with like part human body and then the head of an animal.
An animal.
And so things like that.
These cat dudes.
Right.
Looking things.
Those depictions are various gods. So
Do you think they were capping? Think they were lying about that?
About what?
About these gods? These were like living things, right? Or these are things they like fucking prayed and believed to?
Well, they definitely were not living things. I don't believe they were.
You don't. Maybe they
did
thought.
Did they believe in those gods? Yeah, they did.
Yeah, you don't believe in any weird niche, fucking thing out there. Like there's no. Like
no, I'm open to things.
Like fucking what's the typical Bigfoot? Fucking.
I don't believe in Bigfoot. No.
Giants. Like you don't think there was ever giants, like actual giants and shit?
I think there were other species of apes that were huge. But that's not a belief. Like they've actually.
I mean, like giant humans, like fucking giants, like on some crazy.
Like 40-foot tall humans and shit.
Or maybe like 20 feet, 30 feet, some crazy shit. Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, I'm trying to just throw you like the wildest.
But none of that is spiritual though. Like all of those could be like explained naturally.
Yeah, that's what I meant more. I was just giving you like just ideas of just like weird, niche ass fucking things that people do.
And by the way,
in.
like it's people are not born like a blank slate. You know, that's another thing that's very important to consider. Like, people are not born with, like, zero innate information, with zero information that's implanted into them. They're born with a lot of information. That's why they have reflexes, right? That's why when you cry, when you're born, you start crying and shit like that. That's why you do a lot of the shit that you do when you're very young.
God isn't one of them?
Okay.
That's stored information?
No, God is actually one of them.
God is one of them.
God is definitely one of them because you can activate him using studies. You can activate what they call like the God center of the brain using actual magnetic, transcranial magnetic stimulation in the brain.
What is that? Why do you think that happens?
Well, people evolved that way.
But it wasn't always like that.
I don't know if it was like that before. I mean, as long as we've been humans, I imagine that's how we were. Right, and so you have this thing that activates that gives you the sensation of.
You don't think a lot of things are just weirdly connected and like.
That's very weird. I completely agree with that. But the problem is that sort of shows that it's innate. The fact that you can just trigger it using magnetic transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Then it's not this like holy being. It's not this like.
It's not something that you had to come into contact with in order for you to. Like fucking experience it. You can experience it on demand using a device.
Right.
And so if that's the case, then I don't see how this guy can stand up and seriously try to convince people that, oh no, that means that it's actually a real thing.
So you believe in the simulation coming up soon?
Sure.
Yeah.
I
mean, technology is gonna be. It's inevitable, right? Like you're gonna.
You said the simulation?
Yeah.
Like we're in a simulation, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
Sure, dude. Why the fuck not? You know.
I mean, with that logic, technology is inevitable to just get better and better, and
It'll get better and better until it either destroys or replaces us, or
you think we're going out like the Matrix?
or until we become unrecognizable. To the rate of change is going to become so unrecognizable. You know what I love doing, bro? I love, like, when it's late at night, I'll put the weirdest, most out there conspiracy bullshit ever.
Dude, that's what I was throwing at you, like giants and shit like that.
Like yesterday, right before I fell asleep, bro, I was watching. I didn't even watch like 30 minutes of this shit, but it's fucking hilarious. I was watching like this old 7-hour clip of David Icke just going off. He had like this whole auditorium of people, and he was just talking about like the fucking, you know, it's all an illusion. The moon is hollow. It's a hologram. They're giving you like fake reality. There's reptilians. You know, humanity can only see a certain part of the light spectrum. So then therefore, you know, like the fucking queen is a reptile.
We need him as our president.
Bro, if I could have a podcast with that guy, I mean, fuck, bro, that would be hilarious. I mean,
we need it. Can we? I'm gonna try to email him.
Talk to him, bro.
You think he'd be down to do a podcast?
No, he wouldn't.
With people like us, hell yeah.
Because he knows that we don't fucking, like, take that shit seriously. Like, he gets very defensive when people challenge him.
Oh, he can't get challenged?
He gets really defensive,
I'll
right?
definitely ask him questions about it. They're like, damn, like, you know.
How do you know that?
Yeah, like, or not even, like, what really made you believe to think that? Like, what?
Oh, he says it. He said that in the beginning.
What, reptilians?
David Icke, for people who don't know, he's this guy who believes that there's like a species of reptilian aliens and other species of
humans that
aliens.
form into them and shit.
Yeah, and they're shapeshifting.
They're shapeshifting.
And so basically that they've sort of taken control of the way that humans think through propaganda machines, and by controlling society, and by creating like sort of illusions for people, like sensory illusions. Which is what allows them to shapeshift.
Okay.
Because he says that we only perceive a certain portion of the light spectrum, which is true, right? Because light and all the colors that you associate with light.
Right.
Right. By the way, this is another thing to go back to.
That's why purple's not really.
There's no real like purple. Purple is something that happens in the brain.
I know. I was gonna say
that was pre-designed in the brain to be interpreted that way, and somebody who has that part of the brain being faulty, right? They were not gonna experience that. But the reason that you experience red is because of the way the brain works. And so whether or not you ever experienced it, the mechanism for you to perceive light that way was always in the brain, innate, there.
Sure.
Just putting that out there.
I guess it kills the color argument, right?
Well, anyway, yeah, David Icke is talking about how we only perceive a certain part of the light spectrum, for example, right? So, like, light is basically just electromagnetic radiation, which is true. And we only perceive a certain part of it, right? Part of that light spectrum.
Okay.
At a certain frequency. But there's parts of those frequencies that we don't perceive, and then
if we did,
then we would have access to information that we don't. And so he says that there's different frequencies, and it's like turning the radio sort of thing. And then if you could turn the radio knob a different way and see a different frequency, you would be able to see the reptile instead of the
human,
the thing masking as a human, right? That sort of shit.
Okay.
And he was just going off on that, bro. He was going balls. I love that type of shit. He was going off on how the moon was not actually, it was created by the aliens, right?
Yeah.
And basically it's a way of creating a projection. So it's basically like a base they have. And it's also like a system
Motherfucker's got a projector screen just in space. Like, yo, here's the moon, bitch.
Not like that, but like sort of like they're transmitting frequencies and shit to keep humanity at a certain state.
Right.
And that they feed off the fear.
That's how we're controlled.
Yeah, they say that he says that they feed off human fear. And that's why they want to like control humanity and maximize fear and make people nervous and, you know, depressed and shit, because they feed off the negative energy of humans, right? That's his whole thing.
Right.
And I was just listening. I was like, fuck yeah, bro. I love this type of shit, you know. This is like sci-fi, but I love sci-fi when the guy believes his own sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like that's my shit.
I mean, the reptile shit is crazy, but like, sure, maybe if we were able to see all the...
Maybe the moon is a base.
Maybe if we were able to see, what is the light spectrum?
He says Saturn is like that too, by the way.
Specifically Saturn.
Saturn, yeah.
Interesting. I mean, imagine what we could see. There's a lot of things that biologically blocks us from seeing on purpose, because, like, imagine if we seen, like, everything at, like, a fucking certain level. We'd probably be freaked the fuck out. Like, if we seen, like...
There's animals that do see light at certain frequencies that we don't. And we know... The reason we know that is because we've tested some things that they would have to see at a certain frequency in order to be able to act a certain way.
I was gonna say, how are they gonna test if they saw it?
Yeah,
they acted a certain way?
Right. So you present it.
I don't know.
You would compare one group to another, right? So let's say I were to show you...
Right, one group doesn't see it, but the other group sees the...
The reason we know that is based on how they act when they're presented with that stimulus. So if getting food, for example...
Okay.
If you need to understand that stimulus in order to get food, right?
Okay.
Then if you know that stimulus and I present it to you...
And he gets food.
And you get food, fine. If I present to you a different stimulus that is necessary for you to get food and you don't act to get food and you don't see it, then I would know that you didn't access that because you did want food.
Right.
And so that's part of the way that you would test something like that.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's not, we looked at their brain and it looks kind of like somebody that sees red, so they see red.
I think, imagine that's like some limitless pill shit. Like if we are accessing our brain.
That's what God is. He's the limitless guy. Right. But just like not limited the way that guy was.
Damn, you don't think there's a reason why we even like have that much access to our brains? Like everything is just like...
Listen, bro, I don't know.
Isn't it odd how we like all...
I don't know.
How we're all made to work a certain way?
Oh, I mean, that's just... You mean like why humanity has the brain it does the way it does?
And just how like we're able to function and like...
I mean, you know that through like DNA.
But I'm saying like just the fact that that's even a thing. Like it's like... You don't find it kind of extraordinary?
That we developed this mind? Of course.
Yeah. But even then, cavemen were still... They probably didn't have the greatest mind, but they still...
They still managed to get things going.
To get there.
To lead us here.
To lead us here.
Absolutely. I think that's incredible. I mean, it's amazing. And a lot of people might find it odd that it didn't happen for other species.
And the ones that have consciousness.
Right. I'm not talking about like plants, although I'm sure somebody could argue that they have consciousness and that rocks have consciousness or whatever. But I'm talking about like why other species didn't become like human. Like apes didn't end up with the intelligence. Other apes didn't end up with the intelligence that we have. Although they're still like the most intelligent creatures out there next to us.
You're saying like why they didn't progress? Like,
why didn't they become as intelligent as we are? Right? Why is it that just this species of apes became this intelligent and every other species basically got left behind in terms of their mental capacity?
It's kind of how it's just we're so complex compared to other...
Yeah. There's a lot of things that have been used to try to sort of explain parts of that.
Why we're so complex?
Why we became as intelligent as we are compared to other species. Like one of them is like, for example, look, our teeth are not like a gorilla's teeth, right?
Yeah.
Like they have some more sharp shit and they eat like vegetables and shit. And so, but for us, we depend on like meat if we're like in a hunter-gatherer situation because like that's where you're going to get a shitload of calories.
Right.
It's not going to be like, it's not going to be eating a fucking, salad off a tree.
Right.
That's barely any calories, bro.
What do you want?
No protein in that shit.
Yeah.
But So basically, like, but it takes a long time to eat meat. No diddy.
Dude, it would have been hard as fuck to be a stoner back in the days.
Yeah, it would
No
have.
munchies.
Yeah.
Imagine having to eat salad off a tree, bro.
Yeah. Well, there's a problem with being a stoner in that age is that you wouldn't know before the advent of like fire.
Right, sure.
That was a huge one because it took people like 6 hours to eat enough meat to be like satisfied when it was raw meat and they were just eating that shit. When you develop the ability for fire, for cooking shit, you were able to eat that shit in a few minutes. Boom, you're done. You can do whatever the fuck else you want to do for the day. You were also able to stay warm at night when it's cold as fuck.
Yeah.
And have light at night.
Dude, I kind of got to take a leak.
Go for it.
Sorry, guys. We'll be back.
Yo, what do you think about midgets with double D's, bro?
We need them.
We do.
Maybe to the pod.
Fuck, bro, I would kill for that.
That would be some entertainment.
We need to get some of those baddies on wheels here.
Damn, baddies on wheels.
You showed me
dude.
baddies on wheels, bro. What channel is that on?
I don't know, bro. I gotta find out. I think it's like, what is it? Zeus Network?
That's exactly what somebody told me.
I think that's what it's called.
That was confirmed by someone that, yeah.
I think that's what it's
Where
called.
the fuck is the Zeus Network?
I don't know.
I couldn't get an answer for that.
That I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's a Google search away. I'm sure it's like on like a certain type.
I need to watch that, bro. I need to become familiar with these ladies that are there. I mean, they're clearly so passionate. I saw a wig go off, right?
On baddies on
And
wheels.
you know, there's passion in this involved, right? When a wig goes off. I mean, that's not something that happens when somebody else removes your wig.
Huh?
First of all, there was passion already if you wore a wig. Okay,
It's like its own streaming service, I believe.
it is, right?
Yeah. But I believe it's on like certain apps.
It better be because I'm not paying for that shit.
It's on Hulu. Wait,
But I can't believe they made a TV show about disabled shawties, bro.
dude.
I mean, that is so necessary up and coming. Don't get me wrong, they had the midget shows, right? You know, there's shows about like just midgets.
Little People, Big World.
Yeah, that type of shit, right? So that's like disabled shotties are in there, right?
Yeah,
In
for
that
sure.
sense.
Yeah. We kind of meant more like
But we meant more like disabled, like, all right, like...
can't use your body.
Right,
like you have
right.
there's a
Like
a
fit-
limit to your.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not just you were born shorter.
Yeah, I mean that's a disabled. That's a disabled shotty too.
It's
though.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can't. I
We
guess.
gotta praise our disabled shotties out
100%. But yo, Baddies on Wheels is that's a classic
there.
idea.
Whoever came up with the concept is so fucking genius. I mean,
Listen, bro, Lil B came out with a disabled shotty tape.
really?
Yeah.
What is it called?
I don't know, bro.
It's not disabled shotty, right?
Nah, it's not. That's our shit, bro. We got that copyrighted.
Because goddamn, bro, that was just perfect.
I could search it up on Spotify. Cause I know, first of all,
You should make a track about that, bro, about fucking disabled shotties, bro. Like, that is...
I know the
Just
title
looking
of the
up.
Lil B tape is gonna be based. Oh lord.
I need me a bitch with epilepsy, like, give me head during a seizure.
Winged Wheelchair Squad.
Damn.
Pretty swag, actually, dog.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Does he explain in that tape whether or not the chicks were in the wheelchair before?
First of
he
all, the
fucked them?
first track is called Paraplegic.
Respect.
I don't pay for Spotify, so I can't see the rest, but there you go.
I would have named it like Triple P, like poppin' paraplegic pussy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I just going, just being severe with that shit. You know. Anyway, you know, I do think we covered a bit of ground. You know, we discussed some incredibly important things. You know, like double D's on midgets and,
yeah,
you know, the
virtue.
The thing about this pod is that people have to understand we're here to solve all the world's problems by just talking about them and doing nothing else, right? So basically the way it works is I say shit and you guys do stuff and then the world fixes itself because
It kind of manifests, right?
right, we have all the answers basically is what we're saying, you know. So you should take our word for everything. I mean, when I tell you to light yourself on fire,
Do that.
in front of Washington, D.C. I mean, like, literally, that will solve all the world's problems, right? So just go ahead and do that and take my word for everything and just believe me like a puppet and don't think for yourself at all, because why would you, right? That's my message here, is blind faith and obedience to me.
Respect.
Yeah.
And I'm stoned.
Don't ever neglect what V tells you, by the way. If he tells you something, it's true, it's accurate. He's basically a god.
We've never lied on this podcast.
We don't lie. We don't use sarcasm.
Never.
We don't believe in humor.
No.
And we love our disabled shawties. That's basically it.
It's pretty solid.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week.
It's been an honor, everybody.
Swag. Peace.
Peace.